Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cash vs. Trash podcast with your hosts, Rob and...
Demi, where we watch the highest and lowest grossing movie of each year from 1970 to 2021 picked at random, then decide if they deserve the title of either cash or trash.
That's right. And this week we are talking about Erik the Viking, the number 100 and something on the list of 1989. We didn't check, so don't ask us.
Well, we did check, but we forgot.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like the same situation as the other week where the lowest grossing wasn't released in enough places, so we just kept going up and up from there until we came to this movie.
Yeah, and it was 100 and something. I
Yeah.
think it was around 150. I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The whole lowest grossing movie thing hasn't, if people have been listening, it hasn't really been a thing for a while now.
Yeah, well, we just do our best.
Yeah, we just try our best, okay?
And we try to be as fair as possible.
Yes.
Anyway, we don't need to have this conversation again.
What conversation? This is the first time we've had this conversation.
The first time for this episode.
All right. Erik the Viking, a fantasy adventure comedy starring Tim Robbins as the titular Erik.
You might recognize him from Mystic River or Shawshank Redemption.
Or, I forgot to put a third thing in, Mission to Mars. There you go.
Okay,
Boom.
but probably most known for Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Tim McInerney as Sven the Berserker.
You might have seen him in Game of Thrones, Notting Hill, or Eddie the Eagle.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a lot of he's very much a character actor.
Yeah.
Not a big name in all this, guys, but he's in the movie a lot.
Yeah, he
So
is.
I put him in there in that spot. And Imogen Stubbs as Princess Ord.
You might have seen her in Sense and Sensibility, 12th Night, or Theatre Night.
I thought that I recognized Imogen Stubbs, but when I looked her up on IMDb, I couldn't find anything that I recognized her from.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of these things.
Yeah,
Well.
that's fine. Very British.
Actress?
Yeah, in like these movies.
Oh,
Sense
yeah.
and Sensibility, 12th Night, Theatre Night. And written and directed by Terry Jones, famous for, of course, being 1/6 of Monty Python. And he has the very famous line from The Life of Brian. He plays Brian's mother. He usually played women in the Monty Python movies, sketches, shows, whatever. And the line is, "He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy."
I have heard that quote 65 times in the last week.
I say it more than you might know. You probably just, before I gave you the context, you probably were just like, okay, whatever.
You say it a lot, but since we watched this movie and it obviously
Yeah.
reminded you, yeah.
So good.
The budget of this movie, we don't know.
I don't think it was very much.
No.
That's not like against the movie, but from what I've seen, it took them a while to get the funds for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So grossing, we don't know how much it grossed domestically or internationally, but we do know the worldwide total was $1.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just what we could find.
Yep.
Its opening weekend, it made 68.5 thousand.
And I couldn't find how long it was in release for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't see it anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, it apparently made £845,000 in the UK, according to Wikipedia.
It was just a random one sentence thing.
Yeah.
When I did most of the research, so if I didn't find stuff, I did check with Demi, and she was like, "No, these are all the places that I look." So who knows?
Yeah, I don't think this movie was too well received.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It was very negatively received.
There's not a lot of info out there. But it had a 47% Rotten Tomatoes rating with a 58% audience rating.
Yeah, and from like the couple of critics ratings and comments, that I did see, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people went into this thinking it was going to be a Monty Python movie.
I haven't seen any Monty Python movies, but isn't this kind of similar?
Yeah. Monty Python is... You've seen a lot of Auntie Donna stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
That's like Monty Python, but...
Like, really silly.
very, very silly. Very, like... And then this thing just happens, and it doesn't matter. Like, they actually had a character on the show and in one of the movies, I can't remember, who was like a general, and every time a sketch would get too silly, he would just come in and be like, "No, this is too silly," and kick everyone out.
Okay.
Like, it was, yeah, I'd say Auntie Donna is the best, from what I know, probably the best modern day equivalent. Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Auntie Donna.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah. Fellow Australians.
Yeah. So, after realizing a life of killing, pillaging, and raping his way across Norway isn't what he wants, a young Viking named Erik sets out to wake the gods and ask them to put an end to the age of Ragnarok.
There's only one thing wrong with that. He has never actually raped anyone before. I didn't think of that when I wrote it, because, of course, and it's not really a spoiler, it's the first scene in the movie.
Yeah.
He is fumbling with his belt. And, maybe should have said this at the start. This is a Viking movie, so it should be no surprise it comes with a lot of talk of rape and like just in general being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Mostly just at the start, but it opens on a scene that's like breaks down the process of raping, pillaging, and killing. What did I say? Killing, pillaging, and raping your way across Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's just like a skit in it of itself.
Yeah, that was a great way to open it.
Yes.
Yeah. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I don't think it's a spoiler. It's like it's the opening scene of the movie, and it sets the tone. I think that it's one of the more silly parts of the movie and does sort of feel very Monty Python. So I think that maybe it could have put people off a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think that scene sort of probably made people think it was going to be more of a Monty Python movie. Because it's like, oh, have you never done this before? And then, they bicker back and forth, and then the other two come in and he stops them.
Yeah.
But he kills her, and he's like, "Oh, I saved you from a life worse than a fate worse than death." And she's like, "Oh, you shouldn't have," while she's bleeding out. And they, she's like, "Why do you care? You shouldn't care." And then he's like, "Oh, well, what's your name?" And she dies.
Yeah.
And that sort of drives the rest of the movie. But it's a very silly scene. And I was like, oh, this is going to be like real wacky. And it is, but it's got a lot more heart than I expected.
Yeah, I was not expecting this movie to be what it is because I didn't know Terry Jones was a Monty Python crew member. So when I saw Erik the Viking and I saw the picture, the movie poster, I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this.
Did you think it was going to be like Clash of the Titans, the original?
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Where it's just like, or...
I just didn't expect it to be jokey. Like, when I read that it was a comedy, I was like, what?
Yeah, like Jason and the Argonauts, the old one, where it's like, now we will go be heroes. And then they go and fight a bunch of stop-motion monsters and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot more serious.
Fair enough. I mean, Norse... anything I think always has like an undertone of humor to it because it's a very matter-of-fact kind of it was a very, as far as I am concerned, what I think of it is that they were a very matter-of-fact kind of people.
Yeah,
they were just like, well, this person's dead, how did they die? Oh, they were stabbed, great, they're going to Valhalla. Oh, they got the cold, fuck, yep, they're going to hell. And it's HEL. They don't really go into it in this movie, but if you ever hear somebody in like a Viking thing talking about hell, it's a different...
Hell.
Yeah, it's a different kind of hell.
You just have to say it really quick.
I'm not going to get into it. I was about to have a little chat about religion, and I just was like, oh, don't go off that cliff.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for stopping there.
I think it reminds me of Paul in a lot of ways.
Do tell. Because I'm struggling to relate. Like...
Okay, not really in the content, but I know it's a UK movie, but it's also got, like, Americans in it. Like, Mickey Rooney plays Eric's granddad, and I think Eartha Kitt, yeah, she's American. She plays Freya. And obviously Tim Robbins is very American. He plays Eric. I think that's it for, like, the Americans that I can think of. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's... So, like, Paul has Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and Seth Rogen and Jason Bateman. And so it's a very funny movie.
Yeah.
But it's like... How do I put it? So, if you've seen the Blood and Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, it's Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. And each movie is about, like, their friendship. It's different characters in each movie. And it's, like, the two of them, are, like, they have usually a strained relationship or whatever. But it's about them two overcoming the odds.
Yeah.
Right? Paul is exactly the same as that. It's like the red-headed stepchild.
It definitely fits in with those three movies.
It's just not as violent, and it's way more Americanized.
Yeah.
And this... I think is like that too, and there are other movies made by the Monty Python guys, who when they were doing it on their own, that are like this. But this sort of really stuck out to me as it's got half or a quarter of the Monty Python silliness and humor mixed with like a more traditional hero's journey.
Yep.
Like. And they do, the Holy Grail, Monty Python's The Holy Grail is a hero's journey style, but it's so weird and so wacky. And spoilers for that movie, at the end, modern day, it's about King Arthur and his, I almost said merry men, that's Robin Hood. King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table going after the Holy Grail. And there's like a rabbit that can jump through the air at like 100 miles an hour and rip people's throats out and stuff. It's very silly. And at the end, modern day police just drive up and arrest the lot of them. That's how it ends. It's very silly. And this has moments like that. Yeah. But it has a lot of heart, and it's a much more like traditional story. Yeah. But it's got humor thrown in.
Yeah, it does.
And when it has humor thrown in, I think 70% of the time it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is very silly.
Yes.
But I thought this movie was great. Just a little sneak peek.
Why do you give it away? We're always like, yep, we're being pretty neutral, and then you're like, just by the way, I fucking hate this movie or I fucking love it. I'm just telling you now, all right? Just you.
We're getting into spoilers?
Yeah, we talked about everything, sorry. All right. That's our opinions and whatever.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. We touched on the movie, like it was negatively received, but like really, really bad. Roger Ebert gave it 0 out of 4 stars.
That's rough.
He's like, used to be one of those guys that was like, if this guy likes your movie, then it's good. It's very different these days. It's hard for people to understand now with the way reviews work. Like this, where
everyone has an opinion.
Yes. Just two yobbos go, yeah, we could start a podcast. Now we're here. But he reckoned that it was not funny at all. None of the jokes landed. It was just... I think you go into it going, it's Terry Jones, John Cleese is in it. I thought he was going to be in it more, but he's in it for 3 scenes. And it is a very silly movie at times, but I don't know.
Well, as someone who didn't go into it thinking that it was going to be like Monty Python, or I didn't know anything about them, I just had heard the name.
But
I didn't
after
even
the
know it was a
first
group
scene,
of people.
After the first scene, I think that if you I think perfectly encapsulates what kind of movie it is. But a lot of people, I think, would have still been leaning towards the comedy aspect.
Yeah. Okay.
Too bad for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, time for spoilers.
Yep.
All right, it's spoiler time.
Mm-hmm.
Time for spoilers. The gods, the Norse gods, the ancient Norse gods, Odin, Thor, Balder, Freya, not in this movie. Freya's not a god in this movie. Or goddess, I should say. She's just an old woman.
Living in a cave.
Or she is a goddess, and the whole thing is that, like, she didn't stay in Asgard or Valhalla, whatever they're calling it in this movie.
Because they're all children.
Yes, they're all kids. That's what I was leading towards.
Yeah, I know.
I
just took it right out from you.
Yeah, they're kids.
Yeah.
Oi, clear off. Bzz.
I was actually kind of thinking, like, when they got there.
That's a quote from Thor, by the way. He goes, oi, clear off, and shoots lightning. I didn't just see a rat or something.
Like right before it was going to be kids, I think we could hear the kids in the background.
Yeah.
When he's talking to the woman, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if the kids were the gods?
Yeah. And
then it was like right after I thought that, then she's like, have you ever tried asking them for anything? And it's just a bunch of kids.
I did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
I thought that because she was in the section where she was like cleaning, it was going to be like, this is where the women and children who were slain and sent to Valhalla went.
Yeah.
And then, like, the warriors are separate. Like, the actual, like, men who died and women who died in battle. Like, actual, like, I've got a sword, you've got a sword, or any other weapon. Don't at me. Like, there were going to be segments to it. But no, it's just we're the women looking after the gods right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great concept.
I thought that was really cool.
And why not, right? Why would the gods have to be middle-aged looking or older looking? And I know sometimes it's like presentation.
Yeah.
Like Odin would often take the form like of like a haggard old man, so that when people saw him, they'd be like, "Oh, who's this guy?"
Yeah.
And not, think anything of it because he was the wanderer. But having them as kids, I think, just works so perfectly.
Yeah, has that ever been done before?
Yes, but not. I'd say it has. I think I've seen that before.
Yeah.
It's usually like a theme of like, these big and mighty gods, but they're just kids. But I think the idea that they're actually just like so old because they're gods, but they're kids because, like, they don't have to be the same as us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's a really neat interpretation.
Yeah. I thought that was a cool original idea.
Yeah. I know that this was based... Well, it's not based on... It's even in the credits. It's like, this isn't based on Terry Jones's Erik the Viking, but he hopes it might sell tickets better. Because he wrote a book called Erik the Viking or something.
Oh, okay.
And it's a kid's book, and it's nothing like this. Only him setting off in a boat with his crew is the same, and everything else is different.
The poor guy, because this wasn't very well received either. No. Oh, he should just give up on Erik the Viking.
I'm not going to get into it with like all the Monty Python stuff, but I could get bogged down in that easily, just like last week with all the Batman stuff. But
let's steer away from that.
How dare you?
You're welcome, audience.
What audience? I think it was a really good idea. When I sit down and think about it, like, the only thing that really lets this movie down was probably, I guess, the budget that we don't know about.
The way it looked. Yeah.
And like the blue screen early on when he's running up the mountain, it's very clearly like a poster.
Yep. I was like, oh God, what are we watching?
Yeah, because the opening is obviously all practical and looks good, and then he's like legging it up a mountain, and the dragon I think looks fantastic.
Yeah, that was
it's
good.
It's clearly miniatures.
Oh, really?
What else could it be? Because they don't. The only time because it's like just this thing in the fog.
Yeah. And I think, that part.
Yeah, I think that's miniature and like the light.
Yeah.
Is it like what's the name of that? Is it an anglerfish? Where it has the light over its head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like an angelfish. Or is that something else?
No, that's I think that's something else. I'm pretty sure it's an anglerfish. I think.
Where it has the light.
Has the light and it gets you in a trance. It was like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a dragon like that before.
No.
That's really cool. It's a dragon of the North Sea.
Maybe because it's in the ocean.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I suppose it could do some deep sea. That thing's terrifying though. I was expecting it to be like as big as the boat. The boat was like as big as one half of its lower jaw.
Yeah.
It was massive.
It was huge.
And like Sven getting on the tooth and attacking it. And like Erik, who I think... so I'll just put it out there now. Terry Jones took a lot of like name... only inspirations. Like Erik the Viking is clearly like Erik the Red, and there's Ivar the Boneless, who, if you've seen the show Vikings, whether or not that's true, I think that's much closer to a proper interpretation of him than spineless, because he can't really fight, so he just bangs the drums.
Yeah.
And Freya, like we said, is normally a god or goddess, but in this she's just a wise old woman or maybe a witch.
Yeah.
And which kind of works.
Yeah. And then you got Loki.
Yeah, Loki is just some guy.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be revealed that he was like the Loki and he doesn't want Ragnarok to end because he's got to go fight the gods, but it wasn't even that true to Norse mythology.
Yeah.
He was just some dude.
Yeah.
Because he's in Valhalla. That's another thing. Asgard and Valhalla are not the same place. I think the Valhalla is part of Asgard or like connects onto it. But the gods don't hang out in Valhalla, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's like they're in Asgard and then you can... Valhalla is like Odin's joint. It's not that it matters, but they just... Yeah, it's just a lot of like, this is this, this is this, this is this. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. One weird thing, Hi Brazil. We're just bouncing all over the place this episode. That's fine. I think the episodes work better when we do it this way. When we just go, what about this?
Just say thoughts that come into our mind.
No,
not like that.
Hi Brazil, not HIGH space BRAZIL. It's HY dash BRASIL. It's different language, different meaning, and it was in folklore is an island. I'd heard of it, I completely forgot about it. It was an island apparently off the coast of Ireland that was concealed by fog and was only visible once every whatever, and then nobody could find it. And in this, it's the whole thing of it sank because the god said, if anyone ever spills blood or kills anyone...
Yeah, if anyone kills another person, the whole island will sink.
No, not even kills. It said if there's ever so much as a drop of blood from like trying to hurt somebody else.
So not like you cut your finger on a sharp rock.
Yeah, no.
And the whole island sinks.
Yeah, the interesting thing is the architecture is very much like ancient Greece, ancient Roman. And I was like, how does that work? But then I'm like, oh, maybe it's because like Hi Brazil and Atlantis are meant to sort of like...
Well, like you said before, he clearly just took inspiration from other things, but didn't make them like true to what they are.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
I think this world that he's presented is interesting. Like, the gods can just stop Ragnarok, which in like Norse mythology proper, that's the end.
Yeah.
Like, the universe is created, then it goes on for a while, the 9 realms, I should say, and then Ragnarok happens and the world ends. And then even if things carry on after, when all that wraps up, it circles back around and the universe is recreated and everything happens the same way with subtle changes each time.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's like the opposite of a multiverse. It's just
restart.
It's just like a loop.
Yeah.
Is that the opposite of a multiverse? Instead of little changes creating branching timelines, it's just each time it's a bit different. And it's like some people can remember past lives and deja vu and all that kind of stuff, apparently. So, but in this, the gods are just like, oh, oi, Fenrir, bugger off, dickhead, don't eat the sun. And then it's all fixed. I couldn't think of a very good segue, so I'm just going to come right out and say it. The cloak, was that what it's called? The cloak invisible?
Yeah.
And the fight on the longboat is the highlight of the movie.
That was the best.
That was excellent. It's pretty classic. Somebody thinks they're untouchable or invisible or whatever.
Yep.
And pretty much dances their way through a fight.
Yeah.
While everyone's like, holy shit, how are they doing this? This guy's incredible. Or they think that it's not real or that sort of thing. And Erik gets the cloak invisible. Is it called the cloak? I swear
Invisible cloak?
No, it's something invisible. Like, it's not of invisibility.
Cloth?
Shroud?
No.
Let's say cloak.
Yeah. It's just a bit of fabric.
It's just a dirty dishcloth that only works
on her father, yeah.
King Arnulf, who is played by Terry Jones.
Yeah.
And yeah, they fight Halfdan the Black. Well, not him. They fight his
team
crew.
Yeah.
Who all wear. There's a great joke in there. They all wear like those skull masks, those sheep skull masks or cow skull masks. And he's like, you never fought anyone? And they're like, no, everybody's always been too scared to actually fight us.
And Erik the Viking is just like, watcha, watcha.
Yeah, and he's just dancing around and they're stabbing each other trying to get him. And
it just reminded me of Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
It's that kind of vibe.
It was very proto Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
I love how it wraps up where Loki's like, oh, Erik, I'm so sorry. I came here to thwart his plans or whatever. And he's like, wait a minute. You guys can all see me? And just passes out.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's pretty true to like the hero's journey kind of story, or like an ensemble story where people will die along the way, but at the end, they're all brought back except for Loki.
Yeah.
Because they all go, oh no, we'll get you and we'll save you, and then they're almost cast into hell. But for some reason, Harold the missionary. Oh yeah, there's a Christian missionary in this who, because he doesn't believe in it, he can't see the dragon of the North Sea.
Yeah, he can't see like any of it.
He can't see Valhalla at all. Yeah. He just walks right through it. He doesn't know what's going on any of the time. Can he see the gods? I think he can. Yeah. But he doesn't know. Like I don't think he can comprehend the magic that they use.
Yeah, and the invisible or cloak invisible whatever worked on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like,
I don't know how that works.
Are they Christian? But they have the horn of resounding. I
think it's just like he doesn't believe in anything. Or
no,
like
he believes in
any of that stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, but
yeah,
the cloak invisible one kind of
that was confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it just like he doesn't believe in all these things, so he doesn't see all these things, and then it's just like a thing thrown in there where they can all see Erik, but he's like, oh, I can't see him.
Yeah, I think it
just
might
for
just
fun.
be. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it only works on King Arnulf.
Yeah.
As well. That's an interesting way how High Brazil ends up with it sinking. How they're just like, this isn't happening.
Yeah, they're just sitting on the all
Nope.
the buildings while they're all
We've
drowning.
decided it's not happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was meant that way, but these days, it's like, is this about climate change? Is this about like global warming and the seas rising? Because
you could take that scene and be like, yeah, apply it to today.
I think it's just about any bad thing happening and political ineptitude.
Yeah, just being in denial.
Yeah, he's like, I've appointed this person as my high whatever advisor and this person as my disaster something, and we've decided it's not happening.
Yeah, when it's very clearly happening.
Yeah, I think that's because Monty Python do get a little bit political sometimes, and which makes sense. That's usually what comedy is best used for, to point out silly things about the world. Or just, and sometimes it gets political. It just felt very specific. Like, I thought that he was going to be like, right, our island is sinking. Let's just, like, he gets out a knife and just, like, goes, well, it doesn't matter now, and just stabs someone to death.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just more like he couldn't believe it was happening.
Maybe that's what it's about. It's just, like, faith.
Yeah, because they've just lived for so long in this very light world where nobody is mean to anyone. And I don't think he could fathom the fact that somebody actually was killed on their land. So he was just like, no, didn't happen. It's not happening.
Everybody just had to pretend like
they were all having a good time.
Yeah. When I think that they were all meant to be related because they all have the same complexion, the same long curly black hair.
Yeah.
They all talk the same and sound the same and look the same. And it's like, I mean, if nobody comes in and nobody goes out,
that's true.
Your family tree is a hedge.
Circle.
Yeah, just a circle. But yeah, I really liked the effect.
Yeah.
The way it, like, there's people looking out of windows as water's coming up in there. I thought that was quite good.
And nobody's floating. The water
swallows them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the way that they're all, like, up on the last highest bit. And they're just going down.
Yep.
And then he's just like, no, and people are talking, and as they're talking, the water comes above the water.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he goes underwater, like, mid-sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his daughters are like, oh, about time.
Yeah, everyone she's ever known, and the only place she's ever known, just went underwater, and she's like, anyway, let's get to Valhalla.
She's like, oh, thank God I'm out of that place.
The joke just after that with the horn resounding, and it doesn't have the little mouthpiece, and it's just like 4 straight minutes of...
Like fart noises?
Yeah, them, like, Erik, then Sven, and Sven's dad... all having a go at blowing it, and Sven... I really like the running gag of Sven's dad just interrupting him and telling him what to do and setting off his berserker rage so he couldn't even use it in battle.
That's so relatable, though.
Yeah. And
anyone who has a parent knows what that's like.
So everybody.
Exactly.
Except orphans, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway... I love the bit at the end when Sven's dad's like, that's my father. And he's like, oh, he did make it to Valhalla. And then he's like, how do you know it's him? Because he pissed me off so much. He'd always telling me what. And he's trying to get to him, and Sven's like, no, Dad, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And the Thorful?
Thorn? I thought it was like Thorn.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know.
The skull splitter.
Yeah.
Who dies in the battle on the longboat, but then, comes back at the end. Same as Leif the Lucky. That's my guy favorite death.
Yeah, the first person to die, Leif the Lucky. Yeah.
And he dies by falling off of the longboat after it's been sneezed out by the dragon.
Yeah, that was a great scene. Thornton? Anyway,
I'm pretty sure it's Thorful.
That guy has the most magical hair ever.
No, you're thinking of Kettle the blacksmith.
Is that not the same person?
No, the skull splitter he was more of a barbarian looking guy, and Kettle blacksmith, which is like, isn't that the kettle call in the isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? I think that's like a play on words there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's like the Thor looking guy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You know what? If they remade this, it would be pretty funny to have Chris Hemsworth play Kettle Blacksmith and Tom Hiddleston play Loki, his assistant.
Yeah.
I do sorry?
No, that's why I probably thought he was the Thor guy because he has Loki.
Yeah. I do like the joke where they're like, Kettle can't go with you. We need him for what he can do for us. And one of the other women's like, and how he makes weapons. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, you've still got Loki, his assistant. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
So he's a gross rat man.
Because, they're all clearly sleeping with him.
Yeah.
The guy with the beautiful hair.
Yeah, and he comes back and they're like, yay.
Yeah.
Thorfinn. It's, the crew is Erik. Later on, Princess Ord joins them. Sorry, I'll come back over here to where the mic sounds better. Loki joins them for a little bit, but Kettle kills him pretty quick because he's like, no, I want to be a good guy. Which is good. I like that he has his little... he has his, like, redemption moment.
Yeah.
But also still doesn't want Ragnarok to end.
Yeah.
Like, he's a bit complicated. Kettle Blacksmith, Sven's dad, Sven the Berserk, Ivar the Boneless, Thorfinn Skull Splitter, Harold the Missionary, and Snorri the Miserable, who's the one who's like, oh, now you've got this person and this person next to each other. They're going to fight. Yeah. And now you've got...
all the heavy people on one side
and all the light people on the other side. Oh, now you've got all the people with beards on one side and all the people with mustaches on one side. And Eric's like, that doesn't matter. It's fine. Get over it. And he's great. But I went on to the IMDb a bit more here just because Jim Broadbent and Jim Carter are in this movie for one scene. The opening scene, I told you about this. They bust in to rape Helga, the woman he tries to rape but fails. Yeah, and then they bicker and she's like, you've never done this before, have you? And then he's like, could you, like, be into it? And she's like, what, rape? That wouldn't be rape then. Just get it over with. Very, like, it's funny, but at the same time, it's like, what a fucking horrible existence to just be like, just please.
Just rape me and get over it.
Yeah, please hurry up. I want to be over with this. Just like, she's probably like, please don't get me pregnant. It's just a very different world. Yeah. Very not good. It's like the Northman, but funny. Yeah. Yeah, where it's still this horrible shit muck world, but everyone is just having a go of it. And you just gotta push forward and but yeah, Jim Broadbent and Jim Carter bust in. They are credited as Ernest the Viking - a rapist and Jennifer the Viking - another rapist.
That's great.
It like your body couldn't get away with that today, could you? No. That opening scene is very. I think if you didn't know what you were in for in that opening scene, it would shock you quite a bit. But there's no actual rape, just to clear that up. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't even
get his belt or whatever.
He can't undo his armor to do it, and he doesn't want to do it. He's probably the only good person. Yeah, like we wouldn't be laughing about this if there was actually rape and... It's not like, ooh, rape's funny. It's the fact that two people are credited in this movie that's like very funny and silly as rapist and another rapist. It's very, very peculiar. But you don't actually see any raping. Well, no, it doesn't happen. No. The closest thing you see to it is they have the girl tied up to the thing and they're trying to chop her very long hair off and they're throwing axes at it. Yeah. And like one hits some guy in the back. Yeah, in the back. It just kills him and they all think it's the most funny thing ever. Yeah, Eric loses his virginity to Princess Ord later in the movie, and he gets so hung up on whether or not she's been with other guys.
Yeah.
She's like, talking around.
Have you
and
ever been to bed with anybody before?
And she's just talking about how much she feels for him and how she's never felt this way for a man. And he's like, wait, have you had other men in this bed before?
Yeah.
And it like just goes back around and back around, and then she gives him the cloak invisible, and her dad busts in, and he's like, oh, this is the 5th one this week. Which, power to the people. If you want to have sex, have sex.
Yeah, but also, like we said before, aren't they all kind of related?
If you're trapped on an island.
Slim pickings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just take it like Johnny Knoxville's attitude when he found out that because he grew up in the hills, where no one goes in and no one goes out. There's a few loops on his family tree, and he's just like, oh, well, it's not like he can do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Same with Paul Rudd.
But Paul Rudd wasn't raised in an isolated community. I think that was more of a choice.
I mean, like, his parents are cousins.
I did not need to know that.
Did you not know that?
I think you told me about it, but I thought that it was more like they were like cousins by marriage or something.
It might be something like that. They're not first cousins or even second cousins.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway.
It's
not like siblings.
Cousins isn't even the same as siblings. Not that there really should be.
Yeah.
Not that you should really be like, well, is this really that bad or is that really that? It's all bad. It's all. There's so many people to pick from. My thing is, sometimes you don't have that many people to pick from and things just happen. But when you're on like a magical island and you actually can't leave, yeah. Ugh. Yuck.
Anyway.
It's like everyone bashes Zeus in Greek mythology for being like, he's going out and sleeping with all these women. And to be fair, most of them he raped, and that's not on. But the ones who were like, oh yeah, Zeus, give it to me. I'm like, yeah, because Hera is his sister. That's probably why he doesn't want to have kids with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. His first wife was like his aunt, and his second wife was his sister.
That's so messed up.
Ancient gods always inbreed, and it's very strange. It's the same reason why royals do it.
Yeah.
Which probably means that Princess Ord is quite inbred.
Probably.
Because it's always like, got to keep them genes pure. Just look at the shit, I can't remember their name now. They had the big long chins. They started with a H. Habsburgs. The Habsburgs. They were a royal family from somewhere. Big long chins. Look it up, kids. That's why you keep that family tree going sideways and down.
Yep.
Never back up.
No.
Never. Never in a loop.
No.
Never.
That should go without saying, but...
Yeah, it should, but some people just need to hear it. All of this... I'm not going to get into it.
Well, yeah, let's not get into people
let's not go down that rabbit hole.
No. We've pretty much spoken about everything in this movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I honestly think this movie was hilarious. Let me just double check my notes. You can talk about what you like.
I was very pleasantly surprised, and I actually enjoyed this movie. Even though it was, like, really silly. Some parts weren't funny, like how when they get to High Brazil, when they're playing the music and it's really bad. That
was very Monty Python to me.
Okay, well, I didn't like that.
But not good. There is a lot of not good Monty Python.
Yeah.
But it's the good stuff is so good. I think that was a way to show that, like, nobody's ever said, no, don't play it, because they don't want to risk, like, a punch or a stab. Well, they don't have any weapons, so yeah, like a punch or anything like that.
Yeah, it did prove that they all just say yes and, like, you're good.
Yeah. I suppose it's like, and we should get to, like, the theme of the movie. So Odin says, all right, Fenrir's left the sun alone, but do you think that men will change? As soon as they get back, Halfdan the Black has taken their whole village hostage.
Yeah.
And it's only that Harold the missionary comes down on the longboat and crushes them all, that anybody lives at the end.
Yeah.
But like, Odin's right. He's like,
the theme was you can end Ragnarok, but
nature of men and of mankind, of humankind isn't going to change. Yeah. It's like this perfect, in quotes, society of nobody ever hurts each other just means that there's no honesty and everybody's in denial because they can't handle anything that's not good, which is what some people think we're heading towards, which just isn't true because the amount of backlash on it. It's just that at the moment, money is surrounded by never ever causing controversy. So you have that, then you have the Viking world where it's like, if we just fucking kill and destroy everything in our path, we'll have a good life. And like, we didn't even talk about it. The scene where John Cleese is introduced as Halfdan the Black, and he's like, at first he like gets into a disagreement with the guy, and it kind of annoys him, and he's like, have him whipped and flayed and beheaded and boiled and all that. And then the next person, it's like, he doesn't even talk to him. He's like, this guy, flay him.
Yeah.
This person, like, put him in the dungeon and then like starve him or whatever. And it's like, and one guy's like, I'm this person, not this person. You got the wrong person. He's like, I don't care. And then he gets to the last one. He's like, behead him. And the guy's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you. It's like,
because he gets off easy.
Yeah. All he does is just quick, easy beheading. And it's like just this evil, grimy world. And I think it's like the whole movie is sort of about belief, I guess. It's all about, like, what you believe in, what is real, what matters, and that. It just, that part, I think, it only really comes in properly at the end. Yeah. But it's a good theme. Yeah. Like, just be a good person. Yeah. Just because you should be. Because the gods don't give a shit. Exactly. I think your god, their gods, whatever gods, probably don't care is the message. Yeah. They just say, hey, don't do that. And if you do it, they might punish you. But day-to-day stuff, they're like, I don't care. And I think that's pretty good. Just live your life. Exactly. Be honest. Yep. Even if it means getting hurt. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That hits me right here, bro. That hits home. So, who went first last week?
I can't remember. All right. You did.
All right. Well, Demi, what do you think of Erik the Viking?
Cash
also.
Cool.
Yes, I think that this movie was very funny. It was acted very well. We didn't even really talk about the acting. I think it was acted very well.
Yeah,
everybody
think so too.
did exactly what they needed to do. It was very silly. It was very fun. Yeah. And it was done really well. Tim Robbins really did a good job, I think.
Yeah, me too.
He sold... Oh, we didn't even talk about... Sorry, one last thing. We said that, like, Helga dying, the woman at the start, drove him for the movie. Yeah. And the fact that he kept seeing her in random places, that is, like, that just... Ooh, chef's kiss. That is the best way to display PTSD and guilt and all that. To just see the person there. Yeah. And then they're just gone. I love that. It's not like he's not all dark and brooding and always thinking about it. It's just that sometimes she's just there and he's like, oh shit, that's right. I got to do this. And I love that. Yeah. I loved it.
Yep. And when they eventually get there and he talks to her, she's like, I'm not coming back.
Why would I want to live on Earth? Yeah. Yeah. Which is fair. Yeah. It's a grimy, scummy place, and it was like that up until, like, 1999? No. 1995, first of all, because that was the year of our Lord, me. And then maybe, like, 2010 is when things started to get good. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Things just change. I don't know if it's always good or bad.
This has been our review of Erik the Viking.
Yep. We'll just wrap it up here.
Yep. Tell us where the people can find us.
Yep.
Oh, no, we didn't talk about Erik the Viking v. Batman. Batman v. Erik.
Yeah.
Dawn of Sven.
This movie to me was way more interesting.
Yeah.
And engaging.
Yes.
And fun and funny than Batman.
If you like gun to my head, I'd pick this over Batman.
Interesting.
Not even gun to my head. If you're like, hey, what do you feel like watching? Batman or Erik the Viking? I'd be like, Erik the mother effing Viking.
Same. It's just way more engaging.
Yeah, and I know everyone's like, I was even watching a video the other day, and this guy's like, I know Batman 89 was iconic, and then he proceeded to not really talk about it.
Yeah, because it's iconic and influential, but the movie itself isn't that great.
It's because it was iconic, and then it was done better in like Batman Begins, and then it was done even better in, or I should say, The Dark Knight, because that's when he goes up against the Joker. And we just watched The Batman the other day. We were like, after we watched Batman, we were like, we should get around to watching The Batman.
We should watch a good Batman movie.
And The Batman, it's my favorite one.
That was really
I want to watch
good.
it again.
It was really good.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Where can the people find us, Demi?
If you like us and you want to support us, we'd really appreciate it. You can do that by checking out our Patreon, or you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handles are @CashVersusTrashPod, and our listening apps are Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible. And you can also listen on YouTube.
And
all
a
the
few
links
other
will be in the
places.
description.
Yes. And a few other places. There are some links. Yeah, you'll figure it out. Yeah. Just search up Cash versus Trash. And if you're on YouTube, make sure it is Cash versus Trash. YouTube tries to autocorrect it to Cash or Trash. Brings up a bunch of different stuff. Not us.
No.
Cash space VS space Trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to get in contact with us, the best place to do that would be to email us at cashversustrashpod@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
I got an email the other day. It was just a random, generic email, but I got so excited. I thought a listener finally emailed us.
One US listener.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? There's a listener, as soon as we upload from the US, and sometimes one from the Russian Federation.
Yep.
Whoever you guys are. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yep, we love
especially you, the US one, because you get onto us straight away.
Yeah, every time we upload, they're the first person straight away.
So thank you very much. Yeah. Hopefully you get this message. You are incredible.
We see you and we appreciate you.
Yes, you are keeping us going, honestly. It's early days yet, and when this comes out, things might be different, because it's a month ahead of time, but... Thank you.
But they are just the most consistent. Yeah.
We see you.
Yes, we see you.
Yes. Awesome. All right.
Up next
is 1991 and Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that in a decade or so.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. The kids watched it maybe last year.
It's very, very popular.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
I can't remember. I don't want to give any opinions here. You have to
listen next week to find out.
Listen to the episode. All right. Thanks for listening. This has been the Cash versus Trash podcast.
See ya.